Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today, gathered to celebrate one of Caldera's bravest defenders reaching a new position. You see, he just passed power level 400, and he thought he was free, but alas, he's been stationed here for another 10,000 years until he hits 450. And then he'll be stationed here for an additional 10,000 years until he hits 550 in Ash and Iron. Everyone, please, standing ovation. Holy fuck, I'm so sick of this grind. Okay, so today I want to talk about why activities in the portal are so horrifically grating on your subconscious mind. Genuinely, when you finish a session of Caldera, you will be more worn down than if you had just done a calculus exam. And I wanted to dive into that. Why is it that Caldera is genuine, and everything in the portal, is genuinely the most unenjoyable dog shit that you have ever even witnessed in your life in a video game? So firstly, let's describe a good activity, right? A good activity is improvable. You will get faster clears if you get better at it. You'll get faster clears if your build is better at it. You'll get more rewarding gear once you get better because you'll be able to crank up the difficulty, right? These are improvable aspects of an activity. Good activities have low downtime. There are no immune phases in the boss. There are no long traversal sections that you can't improve. So, like, there's no sections that turn off your weapons, for example, so you can't eager edge. These activities are hypothetically smooth, not tedious. Some examples of tedium include tight tunnels, weird geometry that messes with your eager skating, forced loadout requirements, e.g. champions, ads that have unavoidable AoEs or crowd control effects like freeze or slow. Immune phases, again, which break flow, and hard gates punish DPS builds and lower the skill ceiling for boss fight gameplay. Immune phases are also generally just annoying, because they slow down clears regardless of skill while you're waiting for the boss to put up its white shield and then go do its animation, then come back after you finish the mechanic, and that, etc., etc. Additionally, activities that are well-designed should be sufficiently challenging. They should be a flow state achievable friction source, which means that your clearing, your DPSing, and your speed, these will all provide some sort of tangible obstacle that when you chase after and get better at, will put you in a state of flow. You know, you'll get into it, so to say. Now, why are portal activities not this? Let's go through each one. Creation itself has long plate phases that are completely unimprovable. You just get to stand there on a plate for upwards of minutes at a time. They're so boring. And then this happens during a boss fight. You get through all this traversal, all this shooting of random thingies, and you get to the boss, and you get at half health, which takes like 1 or 2 snaps from your Song of Flame, and then you have to stand on a plate for a minute straight. Okay. Salt mines. The ad spawns take way too long, and there are way too few of them. Also, they are the new Taken ads, so there's tons of CC and death effects that are genuinely just annoying as hell to deal with. Also, you must kill all the ads to continue most early sections, which is just the definition of tedium, because now, instead of just clearing as many as you need to and then moving on, you have to clear every single thing and then go back because there's something that was hiding behind a box for some reason. Also, the boss has 4 immune phases, which you can skip, to be fair, if you're dealing enough DPS from one pool. But 4? 4 immune phases on a boss that is legitimately killable with like 1 or 2 mags from a rocket pulse. Okay. So next up, we have the Conflux, which is honestly not that bad, aside from annoying ads because it's the new Taken. And also, the bosses are health gated, but they're like that shield swap health gate, and they actually have very little downtime. If you just ignore the animation, and as soon as one of them hits the gate, you move on to the next one. So Conflux isn't that bad, but there's so much traversal that it's longer than the other ones. So, like, tragic. K1 Logistics is its own annoying can of worms because it has a Fallen variant that has annoyingly placed anti-barrier champions that you must go face and then shoot an additional thing and then do a slow interact in order to beat, and a Hive section which has gunk that you must shoot off of satellite dishes, and that gunk is insanely tough because even though it doesn't take that long to shoot each one, there's like 7 of them that you need to shoot off, which is horrible, and the boss has immune phases on top of it, so, like, go fuck yourself, I guess. We couldn't have just had the Lost Sector now, could we? Skywatch is uniquely tragic, right? Because the Fallen variant has a plate section with insanely boring downtime, but the boss doesn't have any immune phases. And then the Hive variant has a boss with incredibly frustrating immune phases, but the middle encounter is just breaking a bunch of crystals, which is actually pretty engaging because, okay, kill a wizard, now break the crystal, kill a wizard, now break the crystal. It's actually kind of fun, or would be if they weren't so spread out, whatever. Point being, if you just combined the middle Hive section and the ending Fallen section, it would actually be a really fun activity. But no, I guess we're just forced to not have fun. Anyway, now let's move on to Caldera. So the beginning section of Caldera has you either interacting with 3 things or shooting 3 things and then shooting 3 more things, which is like, okay, that's why everybody's running it, because those 3 sections are really fast. But it's also incredibly tedious because sometimes the shank doesn't like to go and blow up the silo, and so you have to sit there and ad clear. And sometimes the boxes will not interact correctly, and you need to shoot them more times than you would think. And sometimes you will get stuck somewhere out of sword ammo, and you'll just be crying as you're slowly sprinting across this wide open field up a hill, because screw you, of course it's up a hill. And then you get to the boss, which the Fallen variant, which is pretty cool, has immune phases, but it's the swap immune phases, so you can just beam it down with like a rocket pulse or something, given that the bosses don't run away from you, which is like, okay, cool, I guess. But the Harpy pisses me off, because the Harpy takes a while to spawn the boxes after it goes immune, and then it takes a while to teleport back after you shoot all the boxes, and the boxes are placed in the most inconvenient locations of all time. Like, why did you make this boss intentionally so tedious? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But anyway, skill issue, I guess. And that brings me to the end of complaining about each individual solo ops activity. Now, none of these issues are especially damaging, right? On your first 100 runs, these are just like, whatever. The issue is that we're running these activities thousands of times. And most people, I would imagine, would find the simple act of repeating the same activity that many times boring. But my point here is that even speedrunner types like myself will take issue because of core design philosophy. Immune phases drive me insane specifically, but also just the repeated tedium is horrible. And the other issue has to do with individual activity efficiency. For example, fast activities with 1 drop will always be more efficient because the risk of duplicate drops is lower. If you get a helmet that is 393, for example, and in the same chest you get another helmet that is 393, the second one is wasted, right? However, if you're running a solo ops activity and you get a 393 helmet from 1 drop, and that happens to push you up to 394 acquirable gear, then the next helmet will be 394, which is still like kind of a waste, but it's not a full waste of a run. So that means that a fast activity with 1 drop will always be more efficient because the risk of duplicate drops is just lower. Fast activities are also historically better farms for event currencies, glimmer, strange coins, etc., right? For some reason, Bungie just thinks that solo activities are just more challenging or something. I don't know. Like, they generally balance around you not being able to do the activity very fast, reward-wise, but then the other activities that you can do give like the same rewards, but they just take longer. I don't know. The other thing is, solo activities are generally just easier because builds in D2 thrive with high individual ad density and low interference from other players. So that means that if you are, for example, running Solo Ops Caldera and there happens to be a billion dregs, right? Because nobody's messing with you, and because you can just constantly be chaining Devour, Restoration, you have your DR up all the time, all of your abilities are flowing. You're constantly making ammo for yourself because you're getting all the kills. This is significantly easier than, for example, running a strike where you have to fight with your teammates to get kills so that you can get ammo so that you can do damage to a boss or a mid-tier objective. Like, I don't know how to resolve this issue because D2 has always just been incredibly sensitive to build interference, and that's why most of the best builds are ones that are incredibly independent of build interference. Like, Syntho Titan historically has been very independent of other people messing with you. You don't really have to chain kills all that much compared to some other builds. Point being, solo activities are generally just easier. Wrapping up, only 6 activities is ridiculous. I alluded to this earlier. 6? 6 activities. 6. For solo players. You get 6 activities that give you actual loot. We have like a billion lost sectors, and these sectors are actually really fun to do. Just don't give me ones with weird health-gated bosses. Why? I don't want to keep harping on this point. Moving on. Tedium and monotony are the core issues here. There is too much downtime, there are too many interruptions to get into a flow state, and loot isn't unique to individual activities, which means that time becomes the highest priority. You will always want to be going as fast as you can because there is no other reason to grind. Also, after 300, bonus drops become worthless. I think it's 300. And so that just further pushes completions over running different activities. Why did you make that decision? The bonus drops were so cool. The idea of just running different activities makes way more sense if each time you run one activity, you get a reward that is from another activity. Now, my fire team ops are full of +3 engrams upon completion because these engrams are worthless to me. They're +0s or -1s. Cool, I guess? Why? Why do that? Anyway, that's all I had to say. I just really wanted to rant about the solo ops activity grind because it is insanely frustrating and also the most efficient way to do it. And this annoys me to no end. But you know what's not annoying? You got that right. The grace of God, baby. You best be praying. You best be in your Bible. Start digging in your Bible, twin. I'm out. Subscribe.